what excited me about hearing you doing Henry V was the like kind of like we can do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there might be something about that in the face of this avalanche of just helplessness. We could all use a good Agincourt speech. You know,
Totally.
but it's hard.
Totally. No, and though you will never see this production because it never happened. But that whole moment for me this time around, looking at the play, is really complicated by the fact that Henry's put her soldiers, and we had a woman playing Henry, in this situation. Like, she puts them in this situation where they're completely outnumbered, and yes, just to rally them, but she put them there, you know? And so there were that moment for me is really complicated by the fact that she put herself into a terrible situation and the lives of hundreds of other people.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there's this heroic sort of cult, like we all have to kind of get through this thing, but I didn't want to let go of I don't want to forget the fact that it could have been in England right then, and not having to deal with any of that crap. And so, like, let's create a chaotic situation for ourselves to be in so that I can rise to the occasion and be a hero and save us.
Yeah. I mean, there's some version of the play done that I heard about where, like, he was actually rendered as this, like, authoritarian, you know, like exactly what you're saying, which is like it was all a way to install monarchical power. Yeah.
I mean, we're watching somebody do that right now. Now, I'm kind of interested in how much everybody's kind of like into how everybody loves Andrew Cuomo now. But like a couple months ago, New Yorkers were like, you know, F that guy. They're sick of Andrew Cuomo. And now he's become like the sort of voice of like who's who we're all turning into to like listen to him say something that's going to uplift our spirits for the day. Like, I'm a California resident. I'm like, I'm going to get to the last 5 minutes of Andrew Cuomo's public address to have my encouragement for the day. But I don't know. I'd be curious. Like, I'm also seeing a lot of New Yorkers going like, yeah, we like him now, but God, he really was driving me nuts before. And did they start their shelter in place too late? You know?
Oh, this whole thing is so complicated. I mean, like, it's almost like no one's hands are clean. You know, like there's no clear winner or like hero because it's the plague. Because we're all in the midst of something that it doesn't let you off that easy, which I think is part of the despair of the moment. It's like, God, like there's no one to quite like rally the.
We definitely don't have that on that. I mean, we're all looking for Dr. Fauci to kind of. Anyway, all right, we're after 4 o'clock.
On that note, it's 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock now. 4:02.
Yeah.
So let's start. I guess we started a little.
Yeah. Let's start. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Hannah, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what we're supposed to do?
How are we supposed to do? Hi, everybody. My name's Hannah. I'm the director of production for Shotgun, and apparently Zoom captain now. So we're gonna these guys are gonna chat for a little bit, and then we'll open it up for questions. If you have a question, I want to encourage you to use the Q&A button, which is like, it's a mirrored screen. It's down below in the middle. And if you click on that, you can type in a question and let us know how that's going for you. And we're also live on Facebook, so I'll keep an eye on there in case anybody has anything to say. But we'll just chat a little bit, and I'll let you all know when we have questions.
And so I think that, and Michael and I were talking about this last night or earlier today, but we're going to talk for like 20 or 30 minutes, just talk to each other, and then we'll have the rest of the time to hear what everybody else has to say as a structure. Did you already say that, Hannah?
Okay. No,
I know Hannah's gone.
I'll say that. I'm out. No, I didn't say the 20 to 30 minutes part, but I think we're okay. I think we're keeping it loose. Here we go.
Great.
Cool.
Hi. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Patrick.
So here we are. So So I'll start because this was Michael's idea, or actually this is Michael's wife's idea.
Right. Yeah.
And Rachel, and the idea was that we would get together. We're both founding artistic directors of East Bay theater companies, and Rachel thought it would be interesting to have us have a conversation and sort of like share the unique experience it means to be somebody who starts an organization, and like how that plays on you professionally, but also personally, and then also kind of folding in what it means to be trying to be running any kind of an arts organization, any kind of trying to do anything in this what's been going on in our country and for the last month. I guess what I'd like to kind of just turn to you, and I'd like just to kind of ask you. I know there's a lot of folks know about Ubuntu, but I know there's probably some folks in other organizations who don't know, and I would love to just hear a little bit about from you, like what was that moment that you decided, I know what I want to do. I want to start a theater company. Like what was that catalytic moment that like went from maybe I'll be a director, or maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll be a teacher. No, I know what I want to do. I want to start a theater company.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways it was like a slow rolling dream. Like well, now I'm saying it, there was some moment in like, right after college crisis, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Where I was like, okay, I heard it was a good goal, like write down goals. Like, you know what I mean? If you write down the goal, it's more likely to happen. I was like, well, that sounds nice. And so I remember writing like, well, what do I want to do? I want to act, I want to write. I want to like implement a vision of different kinds. I want to explore ways that theater can do things for society and for people. And then I remember just thinking like, it seems like the only way I can do all of those things is if I run a theater company. And I remember writing that down, and I thought it would be a lot easier.
It looks so good on paper.
Oh my God. And then the real catalytic moment was when I got into grad school. Colin, my best friend who went through middle school, high school, and we actually were in college together, who was in the BFA program with me. He was moving back to California also to pursue his policy administration degree. And like going into grad school, I was just like, let's do this. Like I had just been, pretty broke as a post-college person. And I was walking into this world of like tons of resources. And I was just like, this is the time to actually try and like use those resources to get something going. And I have to say, Colin was kind of the X factor, because I didn't know anything about business at all. And Colin was the one that had some mind toward that. And so like we started to do it that way. And somehow I convinced a ton of grad students to come up to the Bay to start this thing. We partnered with Lainey and we repeated that a few summers. And then, there was that moment where I was like, well, we have nothing, so we have nothing to lose. And so we just like launched 7 shows for the year.
Yeah.
So
and so the Laney partnership was something that was that a place for you to have a space to rehearse or to perform? Is that what that partnership? No. We housed all of the actors with my mom's friends, literally, which was wild and amazing. And then we had shows where we needed more ensemble. And so I cold called Michael Torres, and I was like, we both went to the same grad school. And I was like, we need actors. Do you have anyone? And he sent us people who like are company members now, like core company members like William Oliver and Rolanda Bell and Carlo Garlado. And so that was kind of and then, we just repeated it. I will say the magical part was sort of core to our mission though, which is like, how can in the theater, my theory was like, can theater be a binding of divergent groups? Can it be, because it just is that to me. Like the minute you're all circled around the crisis of the theater, you end up binding together to solve this crisis of having to put it up. And so one of the divides that happened just organically was like, these people pursuing masters and these people sort of just getting into the game at Laney College, and them both sharing the stage and starting to build relationships
And now like what, 5, 6, 7 years later from those summers, a lot of those Laney actors are now professional actors, working at Shotgun and other things. So yeah, that's kind of how it all happened.
And
how about you?
I know you've answered this question a bunch of times, but I'd still love to know, like, where you, like, the name, Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Like what's that?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the initial moment was just that intuitively, two things. One, I believed in it. Like it encapsulated this sort of binding of individualism and collectivism, which often feels like binary in a way that was what I'd been trying to articulate for myself for a number of years. And it just sort of got that in one word. But then the other thing.
But like, how did you find that word? Like Ubuntu. Oh yeah, that word. Like, where?
I heard someone was talking about it as a way to build teams. Like it was a concept that was central to building teams.
I see.
And they said it. I said, "Wait, what?" And they said, "This is what it means." But then the real question is why I kept it.
Yeah.
And after a lot of wrestling, frankly, with it, because I had people tell me we should get rid of it, and then I had people of color tell me we should keep it, and so it was confusing. But ultimately, my decision was that I could tell that starting a theater company was going to be hard enough, and if I didn't bind myself to, if I didn't sort of check my privilege, it was going to run away as a sort of upper middle class, predominantly white theater. Because just getting it going was going to be hard. But by naming it this thing, I think the hope was that it was a signal that like people who might not feel welcome in the mainstream, our purpose is to make you feel welcome here. And that has been a kind of core to our whole mission. And like, we could talk about all the mistakes that have been made, but there's also been some successes that have happened because of that as well. And so that's been sort of and it, I could go on and on, but like one thing that's happened that's interesting is sometimes we're characterized as like a people of color theater, which is super interesting because obviously I'm white. And it does problematize it, right? Like it sort of puts forward like, well, what are we? And what is the unifying symbol right now for us as Americans? Because it's probably not the word America at the moment. Mm-hmm. And so it problematizes it and challenges it. But the sort of mission is that like there can be this new tribe in America that bridges these divides, and that we're not a theater company over there on the side. We can be a badass, excellent theater company, and it can include this wide range of diversity and dynamism, both not even just racially, but like with social class and immigrants and all of those things. And that might be an offering in the theater world as a reflection of the world around us in some way.
And so how's that going? I wanted to keep asking you questions.
No, I know. Okay, I'll answer this, then you have to answer.
Okay.
It's been great. I mean, it's been, especially in this time, like we had a company meeting on Zoom, and it was just, it was kind of magical in a way, because people who were part of the company years ago, still feel part of it. And you see relationships between each other that sort of, and I don't know, that's kind of the core of it to me, is it's about forging these bonds. And so in this moment, the reward of it all is profound and so beyond worthwhile. That being said, it's a ton. Like I can't even, when I try and talk about it with people, I can't even express how much work it's been. And how many miracles have had to happen to kind of just keep it alive. So why is Shotgun called Shotgun?
Man, I know when I asked you the question about your name, I was like, man, now he's going to ask me about our name. And you're catching me at a particularly sort of fraught moment about it, because, we have, I'm actually not going to tell you on this right now where the name comes from. I'm not going to do that here. We'll have to do that happen another time. But it comes from, I'm from the South. I'm from Virginia. I'm from rural Virginia. And where I come from, everybody just sort of there's a vernacular of the way that folks talk that, it's like, it's never just hot. It's like hotter than the hinges of hell, and that's just the way that people talk. And it comes from expression to break it down like a shotgun. And ultimately for me, what that comes down to is when I was starting a theater company, which was not something I'd ever kind of set out to do. I thought I was going to be an actor and was really just sort of working as an actor, but I kept finding myself doing like a Christmas Carol or the Fantastics, and like, this isn't what I want to be doing. I can make a living doing this, but that's not why I'm making theater. And then the notion also of just kind of gigging from like show to show to show and moving from town to town to town. I just realized I wasn't built for that. And so for me, starting a theater company was really just out of the necessity of wanting to be in a stable place, wanting to live in the same place, and wanting to work on work that I really cared about, plays and stories that I really cared about with people who shared that same passion. That was sort of for me, like, this is the way we can do that. And for me, the breaking it down just kind of comes from like wanting also in our earlier days. And for me still, like, the essence of our organization is trying to get like strong writing and strong acting, and a clear vision. And all the other stuff, the bells and whistles and all the other stuff is just, it has, is just, that's all the extras, For me, I just want to it's kind of cut to the chase. I want to get to the heart of the matter. But we're having a conversation as an organization right now about having a name called the Shotgun Players and having that on our building. And what are we, are we, is that, are we being tone deaf to a culture that is overwhelmed with guns? And where I grew up, everybody had a shotgun in their truck or in their vehicle, their house, because the foxes were eating the chickens, or it was a hunting thing. It was a tool for protection and hunting. And it wasn't the idea of guns now as like this other kind of thing. It was not what I was familiar with as a kid. But I understand that what it feels like to others, and so we're wrestling with that. And what does it mean to? How do you rebrand yourself, or how are you able to kind of turn that name or that symbol into something that is forward thinking and that okay, I'm getting notes here. Default microphone has changed to Snowball. Default mic. Okay, I'm hoping y'all can still hear me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Good. You glitched out for a minute, but we're
all right. Sorry, I'm back. So yeah, I mean, and yeah, I mean, the name just kind of came because the name came from, I wanted to do plays that broke it down. Yeah. I wanted to do plays that broke it down like a shotgun. And so then I was like, wow, breaking it down with the Shotgun Players. And I just thought, wow, that just sounds good. Yeah. Like, I could see what that sounds like. I could see that on a poster. I can hear that. And then, of course, like the first bad reviews come out like, blows up in their face, or like shotgun misses the mark, like, yeah. So you can take that and go a lot of different directions with it. But yeah, so that name and is, we're having some pretty intense conversations about that right now.
Yeah.
So, and for me, I have to try to separate my own personal feelings about, like, this is a thing I've had a relationship with this organization for more than half of my life.
Yeah. So how do you do that?
Yeah. It's hard. And I know, and I know that, it's hard. I started Shotgun when I was 24, and I didn't really have a significant relationship until like my, early 30s, because I was this is all I did was this. I worked at a coffee shop, and then I directed all the plays. I designed all this, I did the sets, did the costumes, I ran the board, I did the box office, everything. And I'm sure I see you smiling and nodding your head. And I didn't have a Colin, when we were starting, I had studied economics and English classes. And so I kind of had a head for the business. I understood early on, like show business. I understood that those two kind of, they had to live together. But I was completely obsessed with just all, I lived, breathed, ate, drank everything, this organization, everything in my life came second to running this organization. And it came to like, and at some point in my life, I think I realized that this organization is not going to be there to hold my hand when I am dying. Mm-hmm. This organization is not going to, that it can be, as a person who's like struggled with addiction, I was sort of aware that, you can quit drinking, but you can turn that same energy into just disappearing into this as a way to hide from your life.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started to see that, I realized I have to somehow untangle my personal life from running this organization. And that has been like, the other half of my experience with Shotgun. And there's like the first 15 years, and then there's the last 15 years. And it's being married, and it's having a partner look at you every day and say, like, you have a problem, this is not okay. Or having your kids, like, this terrible story. I know you probably heard me tell this, like, Kimberly was with one of the girls, and they were like 2 years old, and they were driving in their minivan up to the stoplight at the intersection of, Shotgun and Martin Luther King and Ashby, and seeing the theater, and my kid saying, "That's where Daddy lives." Right.
Yeah.
And realizing that I have to like separate those. And I feel like I've done a much better job of that. And I only know that because that's what I'm hearing that from my family, that I know that I'm doing better. I'm having a healthier separation from that. I've had some health issues also, which really kind of like make you really think about how your relationship is to your job, and that you really, and having a healthy relationship to your job.
Yeah.
And so it's been, I feel like I've had it, but I feel like those are lessons that I had to learn about. I think I probably would have had an unhealthy relationship to work no matter what it was that I did.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a time in my life when there was a kind of like, I just like, my ambition was just so overwhelming. It probably wouldn't have mattered what I had done. That's just what I was doing. That's how I was able to kind of get through. That's how I was able to, I felt like that's how I was able to kind of channel my energy. And I probably, because there was a time in my life where I couldn't really just look at myself, and so I turned it into, channeled all of that to my, whatever I was trying to do professionally.
Yeah.
And now I have to say, like, I feel farther, I feel like I'm stepping further and further back from the organization. It feels good to do that. I feel like my journey right now, I'm 52, and I feel like the next 10 years for me is really about removing myself from the organization and making room for the next people to step in, and making sure that, if I do a good job, that the organization will just keep on going as if, I hadn't been there. Like, it's like when I step away, like it doesn't feel a thing. It just goes, and it takes off. And I really, rather than like, this is like I used to say this is my theater company. I really I try not to say that, or try to be really conscious of that, and really just say, like, I'm just the custodian. I have a job at this organization, like lots of people have jobs there. Yeah. And that, this is just what I do right now to support my family, Yeah. How are you like feeling with all that these days? I know you and I talk about this all the time, right?
Yeah.
So y'all, I see a lot, I have to say this, I see a lot of like where I was also in Michael. I think Michael is handling a lot of this better than I was, but I see like, a lot of the similar patterns of like taking the things from your house and they're appearing in your sets, and doing 7, 8, 9 a year instead of doing It's like, okay, I lost my sound again.
That's okay.
Whatever. And I wonder if there is no way not to kind of have that. Maybe you just you have to. A kid's not going to skip puberty. We can't skip the steps. We kind of have to go through these things and kind of figure them out on our own.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of my question for theater in general. Cause so Patrick's told me do less shows. And then I'm like, well, Patrick, how many shows did you do at this time? And he's like 9. So I'm like, well,
yeah. So fuck you, man.
But part of it is this catch-22. Like I have felt, I mean, I recently got married, and which was wonderful, but also a welcome shift to my work-life balance, because all of a sudden I'm like, oh, now it's like there's this real thing I've got to make sure I tend to, and needs to be the priority instead of work. Rachel, not that you weren't my priority before, but
yeah.
And so, but there's a catch-22, because I often feel like I'm racing against time. Like it has felt these past 5 years that I can do this right now because I'm young, and I will not. Like each year we lucked out, and if I had to do the year previous, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's like now we got past that. So now I'm like, okay. And then, and there's a lot of luck involved, but that luck was sort of given its opportunity by just kind of going up against the wall and trying to put it all out there. And similarly, I never quite felt like this is my theater company. I did feel very deeply that like I can do this. And because I feel like I can do it, I have to do it. Like if I don't do it, I won't live right with myself. And that sounds so dramatic, but that's kind of how it lived in me. And that's it's a sort of mad, like and it's overwhelming. But I like if someone were to come, like I've thought like, well, I've listened to what you've said to me, and if someone were to come to me and be like, how would you start a theater company? I would, in all honesty, I would say either 1, don't do it, or 2, you have to be willing to go kind of crazy and give it your absolute all, and just see if that picks up enough momentum and enough attention and enough, or do a completely different model, like try a model that like no one's trying right now, like spend a year rehearsing 1 show and do that, or something that like is completely different, to try and make it work, because it has often felt like you're just running up this impossible hill, and it doesn't seem to get any more possible. Like you run to the next thing, and you're like, oh my god,
and right when you figure it out, I'm getting these things. I'm fucking up my microphone.
Unplug it. Just unplug it.
Really? It's got this gaff tape on the back. See, this is like theater. This is how we fix things in theater. We put gaff tape on them, but that doesn't always work. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it like this unless if that king comes on again, then I'm gonna unplug it. But I have a feeling you're probably similar to me, and that as soon as you figure out how to get something and you get it right, then you're like, okay, what's the next thing? You're kind of on to the next horizon. Oh, now we'll try this. Now we'll do site-specific shows. And a lot of people are like, oh, wow, site-specific is so cool. Like, we did site-specific because that's the only place we could find a place.
I know.
That's why it's site-specific.
Yeah.
But that you're on to the next challenge. And for me, I felt like, wow, I've really got a great start. We've got an amazing staff. We've got this great team. We're really figuring out how to do this. And then there's a fucking pandemic. And shuts down the theater. And then you realize after thinking all these years, like my job can never be outsourced to a foreign country. You're like, oh no, I'm doing a job where like going to go to a play is going to put my health at risk.
Yeah.
Like I could, something could happen in my theater that will kill me. And what I worry about is that we're in this place now that even when, okay, now they say like, okay, you're clear to go, that is going to be lurking in the back of people's minds. Like they're going to hear someone cough in a theater, and it's not going to be, hey, get a cough drop, pal, or get a glass of water. It's going to be, are they coughing something into the air that's going to get into my body and kill me.
Yeah.
And I, my Armageddon brain goes to, like, it's already kind of hard enough to do this. What happens when, that what you do actually makes people, is something that people are going to question whether or not it's safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I don't. I think of the same thing. I mean, one thing I've taken heart in it is I do think that what theater puts forward, like what it's reaching for, is bigger than the production itself. And I think that's like connecting. I think that's like feeling. I think that's seeing each other. And that will just not go away. The need for that will not go away. How it manifests until we all get better is the scary part from a business standpoint. And I mean, we're all trying, like you were saying to me also, and I feel this way too. I feel in very familiar territory of just like, go.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, start over.
we're all starting over again.
Yeah.
We're all starting. We're throwing the spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. Okay, we'll try this. We'll try this. We'll try this. We'll try this.
Yeah, and I hope that stays in line with the mission we already have, so it doesn't feel like, wait, what? But but we don't know. I don't know how it will land. But that is, the other thing is, we're all just gonna need it. We're gonna need it so much once we get better. And I think that there is a certain, I think there is a certain, like, as a, if I were to name like what the theater of America is, it'd probably be like football, like the Super Bowl, like it's not going to art house theater. And I think that there's a certain cultural taking for granted that happens nationwide that I wonder if there's an opportunity when we get back to it to say, like, no, now that it's been taken away from us, this is something that's really can renew our society in some meaningful way that we're all going to need. But in this interim, it's like how to keep the business alive, how to keep, I think, people with us, how to keep our staff paid, and I think how to keep ourselves inwardly alive. Like there is this certain vitality that comes from the theater, which I think is why it can be so addictive. And I think in this time of like social isolation, I think it's just really easy to lose purpose and lose like focus. And I hope, I don't know, that our organizations can help kind of buoy that in some small way. Even if it's all virtual for the moment.
I just before you and I were here, we what? Okay, I'm fucking. I'm getting it. Goodbye. Okay, I'm unplugging right now.
And then we are gonna. I want to really quick.
Can you hear me, Hannah?
I can hear you. So real quick, I want to encourage everybody to start asking questions if you have any. I've got one question and I've got one comment when y'all are ready.
Okay.
It's kind of related to what you were talking about. So
I'm talking too fast.
Should I go for it?
Yeah, give me the notes now. Give me some notes now.
Give you some notes? All right, great. So we just have one comment I want to read because it's really sweet. I don't have a question, but I feel so sad about what this pandemic is doing for your theaters. I love hearing your conversation, which is filled with passion and enthusiasm. What you do is so important, so I hope you're able to hang in. So that's just some support. And then one question, which is related to us throwing spaghetti at the wall, is what kind of, for Michael, what kind of online experiences is Ubuntu offering? Because I know you all have a bunch.
Yeah, we're, oh my God, we threw so much spaghetti at the wall. So honestly, it feels like we're turning into a Zoom tune-in channel for live connection. So Wednesday nights will be the sort of Ubuntu in conversation. And last night we had John Wilkins and Lisa Ramirez join us, and we kind of talked about just what this plague means for theater, what it's meant in history, what it means in the past. Next week, we have a writer and musician, Anita, joining us from India. She wrote this beautiful article just about how this time that we're in right now is awful and scary. But there is also another side, which is that for a lot of us, we're renewing our relationships with family. We're staying at home more. It's a shift in a number of ways. And then Friday nights, we have a Zoomed in where we do a reading of a play and then a discussion. So we're doing Mahabharata on Friday. And then next week, we're actually doing this Romanian piece by one of the big time Romanian playwrights who will be viewing in with us on it.
Are you going to do it in Romanian?
No. Margarita, who's Italian, is doing. So there's a lot of things, and then Boots Riley is going to be on a call with us too. So we're hoping to kind of have a few activities going. But last night was really great because it was just a moment to kind of check in with everyone. Like I just think community in this time is so needed, and we have this virtual challenge. But just to hear like how people are processing it and to have a great conversation. Like I think great conversation can be good theater.
Yeah, for sure.
Be soul filling. And so that's not that I'm the best conversationalist in the world, but that's the thing to try and like put forward is how can we keep filling ourselves up? Yeah. So that's the spaghetti we've got.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We've got another question, which is for both of you, which is theater still theater when it's not experienced in person? What makes online programming still theatrical?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what I'll say right here, what's happening, right? I mean, we're doing something live, which is happening in the moment, which is, I guess, that's one thing that is theater, because I've struggled with this too, because we're making content, but it's more like a movie or it's some sort of like other recorded media. Because when I think of theater, I think that it's somewhere you're in the same room and it's happening live in the moment. It'll never happen again. You know. I don't know. I think we're trying to figure it out. I don't know. If you have any thoughts around that.
I want to say that it's theater because it's all we got. you know. But it's not going to be theater. It can't do on the stage what the stage can do. Like it doesn't suspend disbelief the same way. It doesn't do those things. Although I do have faith that people will get really creative. But I guess I go back to like, I do think what theater reaches for about like connection and conversation and us feeling recognized. And I think there's other things that can do that maybe this time is about looking at those things like conversation or about, the weird opportunity that's happening is that like everyone in the world is online.
Yeah.
Like, like we're trying to launch these like youth pay what you can classes just because of spaghetti, and anyone can take it. Like, you could be in New York and take it. You could, and
you can get more students than you could have gotten if you were in a classroom with four walls.
Yeah. I'm just interested in that, I like Anita on next week, like she and I would never do a video call were the pandemic not happening. You know what I mean? Or even now when I have a staff meeting, I'm like, let's see each other, which is great, but I would never do that before. It'd be like a phone call if we weren't in person or something like that. So I think it's figuring out what is this new form and how to make the most of it, how to keep serving.
I think what's really ironic is like we spent all this time. I mean, we've on our marquee, we've got this, we've put up on our marquee, less streaming, more dreaming. And of course, this has all happened before the pandemic, and so I feel like we have to take those words down because after like beating up on, neither one of us are on Facebook, and like the social media thing, I just feel like is a scourge that's going to just like destroy the world. But thank God right now that stuff, I don't know if maybe not, maybe this is just making us even more dependent upon it, which is going to destroy us even faster. But like without those tools, we would really feel more isolated from each other. And so right now it's interesting that we are needing to depend so much on folks being engaged with their devices to stay connected to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're, Hannah, who's, we've been trying to we started a podcast channel, and I have been rehearsing this podcast that we are going to, of an Adam Bach play that we're going to be putting up next week. And I have to say, even though we were all in separate places, we were able to kind of talk through it and give notes and kind of create something that I think is going to be really beautiful and a way for us to stay connected with folks. People are not going to be in the same room with us when it happens. So we're not going to have that immediate sense of, do you hear what I'm hearing? But maybe we can figure out a way to do that if we're listening to it with someone else who's quarantined with us, or we can share it with a friend and say, hey, listen to this thing, and then let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Or like how the stories that we're telling, or the energy that we're, because I feel like the desire to engage and to reach out and connect is good. We're going to figure out a way to do it, because it's just, we're social animals, and we're going to find some other new way to do this. And what I'm wondering is that in the way that you were talking about being able to connect with folks and on a scale that you weren't able to do before, teach a class, whatever, or interview folks you weren't able to teach. I'm wondering how many of these tools that we're going to be able to hold on to when all this is over. Like, I'm totally obsessed with the idea of making really cool podcasts of plays and getting sound designers in there and maybe doing some cool Foley thing and kind of getting back to the old, like, radio theater.
Yeah.
Like, they called it radio theater.
Yeah.
Like, I want us to keep doing those, and I want to get better at that.
Yeah.
And as another program, one more thing we can be doing that doesn't make us any money, but it's fun to do. But I don't know, that's kind of where, that's the moment, that's the opportunity that I'm hoping that this presents. Just like what the person said that about how, like, this is a time that's giving us a chance. It's a forced opportunity to reflect and to find other ways to connect with each other.
Yeah. No, I mean, the hope for me is similar, which is that, like, one of the monetary constraints to the theater is its beauty, which is that, like, you all need to be in the same space at the same time, right? And if there's a way that it can be a podcast, or even, like, people can pay to live stream it in some way, like, there's a way in which theater might meet this new sort of digital age without sacrificing its integrity in some way. And that might be way too optimistic, but and then the other thing is, I was going to say, listening to, like, we're also trying this podcast, and we tried Walt Whitman poems, and hearing actors' voices, just their voices, is so moving. Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, like it's just another way to touch people. It's just that we forget because we're so visual as a culture. But So, I mean, because the other part of this whole moment for the theater is the actors. Which
actors and the designers. I mean, I mean, in some ways, like, we've got this sonnet thing. We can throw some people some money to record a sonnet, but, like, and I was talking with Hannah about this. Like, what have we got for set designers? What have we got for costume designers? I mean, we're very concerned that this thing, however long this thing lasts, that people don't say, why am I designing sets? Why aren't I just making television stuff or whatever? That we need to make sure that there's still going to be a community of artisans that support this industry that stick with it. So I'm trying to find ways for us to keep them paid something, and also not just paid something, but also just engaged, keeping their creative spirits engaged, at this time. Hannah, you got something else for us there?
All right. So there's a couple sort of technical questions about where to get to all this stuff. I think we can just say to go to shotgunplayers.org, or what's your URL, Michael?
ubuntutheaterproject.com.
Cool. And I know
they're .com. So just be everybody, they're .com, not .org. Yeah.
And on Shotgun, we have a page called Art in the Time of Corona, and you can also, if you're okay with, setting foot on Facebook, you can, all this stuff gets posted to our Facebook page as we put it up. So that's how you get to our stuff. Is there something similar, Michael, for you that you would send people to?
Sorry, I was looking at the comments.
Get on your newsletter. I know there's a lot. It's okay.
Where would we send them to? For the programs? Is that what the question was?
Yeah, to get to all your stuff.
Yeah, the website. So if you go on now, what's on now in our website, you'll see all these other programs that we've started to implement there. Yeah, cool. In our newsletter. Yeah.
Nice. So another question is, how many plays have each of you had time to read?
I have to say I've only read a couple plays. I mean, and because really what I'm trying to do right now, I mean, I've been rehearsing these podcasts. I've been, frankly, I've been having a lot of meetings with Liz and Joni on the staff level and trying to figure out how we're going to make our budgets work. I mean, I feel like I've spent way too much time creating new budgets for how we're going to get through the year. And I don't want to sound like a bummer, but that's kind of like a real thing that is taking up a lot of time. We're also applying for all of, trying to get some of the government money that might be out there, these loans that are possible that we can get to keep and those are all things that we weren't expecting to be doing that we're needing to put a lot of energy into. And so right now I am, I'm trying to create new content. So and try to like restructure the organization. And that is, I feel like Michael and I were talking about this earlier. I feel like I'm working more now every day than I have in a long time. Because we're trying to create a new machine or redesign the machine that we have,
Yeah. Yeah. I'll one up you. I don't think I've read a play.
Yeah.
Yeah, like getting all this programming up online. Oh my God, that was a lot.
And we're not people. That's not what we do. No, you're also trying to learn the technology. You're trying to figure out how to make it work. Like I'd never done a Zoom meeting until I did one. Yeah. And so.
Yeah. I mean, and we're a small staff, so a lot of when I come up with a program. On some level, Lee saves the day, but on some level, I'm also trying to administrate it and like host it, and that just takes up time. So,
and just for y'all folks who don't know, Lee Rondon Davis actually works for Ubuntu and for Shotgun, and actually Crowded Fire. I'm sure someone else too, but Lee Rondon Davis, wherever you are. How do you want to jump in, or what? Should
question.
I just?
Yeah. I can confirm. I'm doing more. I'm working harder than I was before this happened somehow.
Yeah.
Now,
and with a toddler right next to you. Yeah. And raising a toddler.
So we've got a question. Michael, with the extraordinary financial challenges of running Ubuntu, how do you sustain your commitment to invite people to attend on a pay what you can basis? Parentheses, I adore Ubuntu.
All right. Well, I mean, it's funny. The pay what you can thing has always kind of been a leap of faith. And the thought behind it was it would potentially reposition theater as a gift-giving enterprise instead of a transactional enterprise. That like the art at some level wants to be like, like personally, I can speak to this. Like Ubuntu's paying me, but not a ton. I do it because I love it. Like I want to give it, and I think setting up our audiences to want to receive the gift and then give a gift back, as opposed to I paid X amount, so I should get Y. I think might be a nice culture to put together. In this moment, like the one program we have right now that's not pay what you can is the class that I teach. And the thought about that was to really to really be a revenue drive to kind of keep paying our staff. But even that, to be honest, if someone, knocked on the door and was like, I really want to take this, I can only pay this much, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Come on in. So that's kind of how we're trying to do it is, and that's also why I do so much programming because I want to make sure that there's some that's available and open, and some that's driving revenue. And sometimes those aren't the same thing. So how to keep the ball in the air in those ways. But I guess the main thing is that I just think that's always going to be sort of like the name, I guess. We put our flag in the ground about that thing. That was the gamble we took. It's worked so far. And so that's just always going to be a mainstay for us. It's hard for me to imagine us quite going back from that, but it was hard to imagine a pandemic. So, so we'll see how it all, we also have a low overhead. I mean, it's a bizarre thing right now, but the lower the overhead, potentially the more nimble you are in this moment. It's a strange.
No, that's real.
Yeah. So we have not felt we have not felt what OSF felt, right? Laying off 80% or something. We haven't felt that because we're small. We've always kind of embraced the small, scrappy, nimble opportunities of that thing. So yeah, but there's a huge unknown out there, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got some more gratitude for all the spaghetti you're throwing at the wall. Thank you. And someone sharing they belong to a play reading group that they used to do a play a month, and now they're doing it twice a week. So folks are doing their own. Folks are doing all their own stuff too, which is exciting. And here's another question. Thank you both for taking this time to share the conversation. Is there a play that comes to mind that embodies your personal experiences and or feelings during this crisis?
It's funny. I think one of the challenges of this crisis is that life right now is just so much bigger than most, I'll be honest. I've actually been trying to write something because I'm like, how do you meet this? I mean, Angels in America comes to mind, to be honest, but there's a weird thing living inside of, it's a weird thing living inside of it because it is more immediate and more urgent and more dire than the metaphor in a strange way. I don't know about you, Patrick.
Gosh, I mean, I know people who know me are going to probably laugh when I say this because I feel like, I can find something about my life in this, this play, because it's also so long. It's The Coast of Utopia. But I mean, for me, it really, because there's a lot of kind of chaos and there's a world that's turned upside down and a lot of a sense of chaos and powerlessness and where do we turn when everything just feels, when we have no bearings, when we have nothing to hold on to, when everything, relationships and job and your connection to your government, your cultures, your society, all of those, when those walls all disappear, like what is there? What is left? And for me, and the ultimate sort of connection to family and to your loved ones, that's where our lives are. That's it. I mean, that's all that matters. And I feel like I could open up that play to any page and find some exchange of text that resonates for me to that truth. And I'm feeling that definitely here. I definitely I have a lot of concern for my parents, and just big people who are older and their vulnerability to this, and just a reminder that our governments are not going to be able to make great decisions, or that you're not, I don't know. And that we need to be, and to get through this, we have to count on our friendships and our, we count on our friendships and our family in as much as we can. So those are the places that's where I go. Those are the things that I think about. I think about Premiukino, so.
All right, we've got a comment, Coast of Utopia Marathon for the win. If anyone else wants to lobby Tom Stoppard, we're happy to have your support.
Well, I will tell folks this, that we have someone.
What we're allowed to tell.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a supporter of ours who is friends with Tom Stoppard and has been in an email exchange with Tom Stoppard about getting permission for us to release a video production of Arcadia that we happened to make, an archival copy that we made. We're in conversations. He seems to think it's like a grand idea, but he has to get his ace to make sure that it's okay. So we'll see. That's happening. And so, yeah, I don't know about Coast of Utopia, but maybe Arcadia.
That's great.
I mean, I don't know, 8.5 hour Zoom meeting with dinner breaks.
I mean, I could be talked into it.
So could I.
I could be talked into it. Yeah. Hannes Datesman is that 9-hour show. Just
okay, remount. Okay, we have more demands for Coast. Patrick, you know who they're coming from. Yeah. Love you. Okay. Is there a way to support live theater right now that doesn't break the bank?
Doesn't break your bank?
Doesn't break your bank. I think,
if it's not going to break your bank to write us a check, please write us all a check.
Right. I think it's, yeah.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think it's just like, what are the small ways that people can help? Are there ways that are non-monetary that people can help, or is it just sort of whatever you can give helps?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it's like spreading the word. I mean, we're a smaller company, but the purpose, in some ways, the self-interested purpose in putting all this stuff online is to stay connected. That's kind of part of the survival strategy to me, is that like, we're here, we're not going anywhere, we can keep pursuing this mission. So just kind of staying in that connection is actually, I mean, money's worth a lot right now.
Yeah.
But I would say that's worth even more. I think that's sort of the point of the whole thing.
I mean, just people engaging, seeing that there's, dozens of people that are like, care enough to like be part of this conversation, even though we're not seeing your faces and we can see your names and we know that you're there. That does a lot. I mean, that just feeds that encouragement. Just even if you can't send a check, to sending a note of encouragement to organizations that you care about and saying, I care about you and I'm grateful that you're there. It means a lot. It's like getting a thank you note for something, or whatever. You're just like, okay, wow, thank you. All of us are doing it just because we love this. I mean, Michael and I, it's great when we can get paid for what we do, but ultimately don't tell anybody, but we figure out a way to do it anyway. I mean, whether we did or not, I mean, we would probably be the last people. I'd pay everybody else. All of us would pay everybody else and not ourselves, if it meant shutting down the organizations. Yeah, I think we care about the people, and finding ways to thank them and to let them know that what they do matters is priceless.
Yeah.
We've got another message of encouragement. Personally, I'm missing being in the theater and anxious to return. I'm sure I'm not alone. Keep after it. It will come back, same as football. Okay. For both of you, we know many who don't get out to theater but might stay in for it now. Might this be a transformative opportunity to bring more potential subscribers into the fold somehow? Enlarging your audience is always our dream as well. Magic all around.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know if I don't know if this person is going there with this, but one of the things that we've been thinking about is, okay, so the city of Berkeley says, or Oakland says, you can have an event, but no more than 50 people can be there. And maybe that's okay. You know, I mean, I think y'all have got about that many seats, you know, so I mean, you're like, perfect, you know, but we have more. And so one thing I'm wondering about is, okay, maybe we can get 40 people in the room and maybe we're able to live stream it for people who can't come. I'm not sure if that's what this person is asking, but maybe there is, and it's not like the thing would not be recorded. You could only watch it if you tuned in at 8:00 and you would kind of be in the room. You could hear the people in the room with you. But I am wondering about adding that as a menu item for the future, that we're able to stream live experiences in the way that we're doing this right here and the way that y'all are doing. I'm curious. I'm glad to know about your programming that y'all are doing on these Wednesday and Friday nights, those live things, you know, live play reading. What the heck? Maybe we keep doing those.
Totally. I mean, that's what I think that is the potential opportunity. Yeah, it's funny, like, you know, as everything was coming down, I remember we were trying to figure out whether or not to cancel our shows, you know, that we had extended Macbeth a few times and we're like, wait, where are we? And I remember at one point we were doing the show, but I told my mom not to come. I was like, don't come. And then I remember thinking, oh shit, you know, like if I'm telling my mom, then like we should cancel the show, because like that's right. You know, that's the thing. And I don't, and so similarly, I mean, my mom is actually a big part of our organization in a morale kind of way. And like, I want her to see the work. Yeah. You know, I want her to see the work. And I don't, it's hard for me to imagine her coming into a crowded room full of people in 6 months. I mean, it's hard. So you kind of are like, well, then let's find a way to make it accessible. And I think that's an exciting option and demand, kind of, in a way, you know?
Yeah. What do you think, Hannah?
What do I think? Well, I think one of the other questions is like, what can we do to expand our audience in this moment, since we now we're not limited by the four walls. Like, what is going to happen to the art when we're not just making it for like the 20 people who we know are going to come, but we could be making it for anybody.
Yeah.
And we don't have to answer that, but that's what I'm thinking about.
But, I mean, one of the craziest things about this is that in some ways everyone in the world is affected by the same thing. Like, it just hasn't happened in my generation. I don't know.
None of our generations.
Yeah. But like I've wondered, like, for the
even old man Dooley has never experienced this before. Yeah.
And my hope is that there's a renewal of sort of a little bit more of a global awareness that you know, I mean, global warming should have done this, but it hasn't really. But this has kind of put us all in this, like, okay, we are quite literally, survival wise, all in this together.
Yes.
And I do wonder how theater can kind of meet that, you know, and put forward that in some way. I don't think there will ever quite be a replacement for being in the room live, but I do think there can be community that starts to become virtual. And so you can be part of the community that the theater builds out without needing to necessarily be there. I think we just haven't had the time and resources to really throw ourselves into that, to be quite honest, you know.
Well, I was really sort of inspired by, I don't know if you know that the DJ D Nice had that on Instagram, had this, you know, party, this house party, and I don't know, like 1 million people or some crazy number of people all. And he started doing this like DJ thing. He was in a DJ for his 200 friends on Instagram. And next thing you know, like, you know, Kamala Harris and Michelle Obama and Jay-Z, everybody's like is showing up at this guy's house party that he's running out of his kitchen.
No way.
And just talking about how, and you could see him talk about this and what it meant to sort of feel like you were sort of virtually in the space with these 1 million people who were all coming together to kind of like listen to this music together and celebrate themselves being together. And that can still like pop off those endorphins that we need. Even, you know, in this, I think nothing will replace being people to people in space together. Nothing will replace that. But I think that there are things that we can do that will, you know, be a an acceptable substitute for that until we can change that.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe one more question, which is, what is the craziest theater startup story you have? So let's go back in time.
Is that Rachel? Is that Rachel?
Before all of this, what do you got? That's okay to talk about on the internet.
Yeah. Well, Patrick has a pig story. I have to make sure he tells the pig story.
I mean, yes, I have a pig story. So we did a play. I was talking about Adam Bach earlier. Adam Bach was an early Shotgun company member, playwright, and he wrote this play about these eco-terrorists, these older middle-aged women who were like hardcore about shutting down this horrific pig farm in their community. And he was sort of been inspired by his aunt, who was in Canada and who's really like hardcore into like environmental issues. This is about I don't know how many years ago. It was a long time ago. And in the play, there's a pig. They rescue this baby pig when they go to blow up this pig farm, and they rescue this baby pig, and the pig is on stage. And Adam, when he wrote the play, is like, if you're going to do this play, you have to have a pig. You can't do this play without having a pig. There's no pig puppet. No one dresses up as a pig. There's not a pig sound cue, shadow. You have to have a real pig. And of course, like, listen, I was raised in Virginia. Like, we had pigs and goats and horses. Like, no problem. We're going to get pigs. And so we signed up to do the show. We put it in our season. There's going to be a pig. So we're like, I'm sure I can find one. Like, I'm sure there's a baby pig somewhere I can track down. And we end up kind of finding there's this woman who lives, I don't know, a couple hours outside of town who runs a pig rescue nonprofit that she gets pigs that get injured at these slaughterhouses. They like, rather than like, she goes, if you get a pig that's injured, it can come to my house and I'll save it. So they're like, because for them, they would just kill it. I mean, it's a terrible thing. I didn't eat bacon for a year, but so she had this pig, but she goes, here's the thing about having a pig is that you can't have one. There's very social creatures. You need to have another pig. Otherwise the pig will get lonely. And the pig is going to be staying with you for the rehearsal process and during the show. This is during the winter. So this is our long show that ran for 8 weeks. Plus we had another, so it was like 2.5 months. So you're going to have a pig with it. And I think the pig's name was Bratwurst and the pig's girlfriend's name was Valentine. And here's a funny thing is that I didn't tell my wife that I was going to do this. I just said we picked the show, and then it gave me time. And like, okay, now we have a pig. So I built a pig pen in our backyard. And this woman shows up with her van and this pig and these 2 pigs. And they are very loud. And they're actually very strong. People think about pigs like these lazy pigs. No, these things are strong. And these pigs immediately went to our backyard and they're just eat, and they're just relentless eaters. And they're relentless. As soon as they get in there, their noses are like these shovels, and these are digging up. Within an hour, they had dug up that entire backyard pen that I built. And they need to be fed you have to feed them 4 times a day. And here's the thing, and the pig has to also get transported to the theater. I thought, I'll just put the pig on a leash and walk into the theater. No, that pig will not be put on a leash. So we had to put the pig in one of these like carriers, and then somehow I don't have a truck, and we have to haul it to the theater. And so God bless it. Y'all will know this guy, Soren Santos. He was in Elevada. Anyway, if anybody who saw it, Soren was a college student 12 years ago, and bless his soul, he volunteered to transport this pig to the theater and sit in the garage, a cold garage in the winter, feeding this pig apple slices until it's one moment on stage. And we would load this pig into his truck. He would drive it there. He'd bring it back every night. And so here's what happened. So 2 things happened. One is Kimberly woke up one morning. She goes, I had this crazy dream that the pigs were doing ballet in the backyard. And they were jumping up and they were twirling around, and they were wearing tutus and they're doing ballet. I said, that's so crazy. That's the craziest dream. And I opened up the window, opened up the curtains, and the pigs had escaped. And they had dug up the entire backyard. I mean, dug it up. And it had been raining. And so the ground was wet, and they had just completely rototilled the entire backyard. And so she had probably heard the pigs just like squealing and just rooting and everything they were doing in the backyard. And it was a bad day at my house. I would have to say it was a bad couple days. And then we're doing the show. We're getting towards the end of it. And then I get a phone call about a week before the show was supposed to close. And it was animal control. And they said somebody had been heard the sounds of a pig coming from our address. And they wondered what was going on. And they said, you're not allowed to have a pig. I said, even if it's for a play? Like, no, not even if it's for a play. You're not allowed to have a pig in Berkeley. So you're going to have to get rid of the pig. Of course, we're closing the show in a week. And apparently, I got back in touch with the person. And in between the time when I had gotten their call, trying to figure out like if we could, like how we could do the play without a pig, I called back. Someone had gone into animal control. I overheard them talking to me about the pig and had said they'd seen the play and that the pig had seemed like they'd seen the show and seen the pig on stage, and the pig seemed very happy and well cared for. So the animal control person came to my backyard and looked at how the pig was being maintained and taken care of and said, you know what, you're doing a good job taking care of this pig. We're going to let you finish doing this show. But after that, no more.
Oh my God.
So there it is.
Oh my God.
I don't know, man. That's my pig story.
That's a good story. Yeah.
I feel like I took up, you have a good, you have like a little adventure.
I have nothing that compares to that.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, oh God, there's so many things. I guess like one was we did Fool for Love that first summer. And when we had done it in grad school as like an extracurricular thing, we had this pickup truck. And so we had to get a pickup truck for the show. The truck was a big part of it. Basically, it all happened outside this pickup truck. So I found this old yellow pickup truck. And we did it up at the Tilden Park merry-go-round.
You bought the truck for the show?
No, we were loaned it. But it was like about to fall apart.
Uh-oh.
It was, so like every time we went up the hill to get to the show, we just put I was worried that it was going to break down. I was worried we weren't going to get to the show. And then at the end of the show, it's supposed to drive away. And every night I was like, it's not going to start. It's just like the truck's not going to drive. I was just the craziest one that was pretty crazy, which isn't even funny. It was just, I just remember thinking like, this is nuts. It was Dance of the Holy Ghost. We had done it a few times. It was the last time we did it. And like, it was at the church and something happened to the laptop and it like completely shut down. And I get a call about 10, 15 minutes before curtain that like lighting cues are gone, sound cues are gone. Turns out that the theater is like down the road from my apartment. I jump in the car, I run in. The guy who has another one on his laptop, but it's not up to date, but like it could get us through the show, is at flight deck. I like grab the laptop, I drive through downtown Oakland, park the car, run into flight deck. He's in the middle of another tech. I like run in, I'm like, put this down, download this. I run back, give it to them, and I'm like, I just hope that this less updated version holds the whole thing. And there's like 1,000 of those.
1,000 of those. Yeah, there's thousands.
So like, why?
Yeah. We could do a whole episode on like crazy things that have happened when running a theater company. I mean, insane things. And unfortunately, too many of them happen with like bathroom problems or porta potty problems or plumbing issues that interrupt a thing. So we all have those too. Yeah.
The electricity. Yeah.
How about that? How's that, Hannah? Is that good?
That's good. We don't have any more questions. Another, crazy things while running a theater would be a good podcast, or maybe we just do another one of these guys. This is fun.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you, Rachel, for this idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say actually thank you to Rachel just because like she and Kimberly being friends means that Michael and I get to be friends.
Yeah. That's true.
I don't know if we could do it without that, but
also the true secret is like I would just be dead if it wasn't for Rachel.
Yeah.
So
same.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for paying attention, and go to our websites and see what we're doing. And also I think let us know if there's things that you like that you'd like for to have us to make. to make available for you, because we're also like wanting to, you know, we're community service organizations. We want to be of service to our community right now. And we're trying to figure out how to do that. And having you respond to us about what's working or not working is really, it's really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Cool. Great. All right. I hate ending these things, Hannah. How do we do it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Roll credits.
We love y'all. We love you all.
Take care of yourselves and each other.
Bye. Bye. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.